We have a witness now who's joining us by phone. His name is Justin Hickens. He apparently was at the scene of the shooting. Justin, what did you see? What did you hear?
I was about 20 yards away on Charlie's left. I had gotten there probably just a few minutes before noon. There was thousands of people there. Unfortunately, there was no metal detectors. There was security by Charlie, but anybody could have shown up with whatever, unfortunately. And I happened to kind of maneuver my way down close on the side. And the first interaction probably took about 10 minutes. It was a religious-related exchange. And then there was someone who stepped up, ironically, coincidentally, who asked a question about mass shootings. And about 60 to 90 seconds in, we heard a big loud shot. I saw a bunch of blood come out of Charlie. I saw his body kind of kick back and go limp, and everybody dropped to the ground. And luckily, there were no other bullets sprayed into the crowd.
And then when you heard the shot, did it sound like it was close, near to where he was speaking, or did it sound like it was coming from afar, maybe in the back of the crowd, or could you tell?
No, it sounded like it was the back of the crowd, which was pretty wild.
Today is 9/11. My heart goes out to anyone who lost a loved one and lives with the enduring trauma from this tragic day. This year, remembrance of September 11th is, of course, being overshadowed by the shocking assassination of MAGA Nazi Charlie Kirk. I wanted to check in with all of you because obviously we're all on edge. There is a brilliant must-read piece by the investigator Heidi Kuda on the echoes of Charlie Kirk's assassination with the Nazi martyr Horst Wessel, and how Goebbels turned his murder into a powder keg for consolidating power and cementing Germany into a dictatorship that was not destroyed until a world war liberated Europe, and countless millions died. And just like Nazi Germany, America today is in this political violence civil war, largely, as data repeatedly shows, driven by the far right. So anybody who is both sidesing the political violence crisis in America is gaslighting you. We're going to stay grounded in the weeks and months ahead, and as they did in the civil rights movement here in America, when you had Black men and women and children and their allies facing off with the violent authoritarianism and lawfare of the Jim Crow South. Keep our eye on the prize. Keep our eye on the prize and stay grounded no matter what they throw at us. And we all know what's coming. More purging, more consolidation of power, more martyrdom for absolute vile traitors, just like we've seen with Ashley Babbitt, one of those killed when Trump killed her by inciting a violent attempted takeover of our democracy on January 6, 2021. And now Charlie Kirk is going to take the same path. His funeral will no doubt be blasted on all Fox News networks, available, like a live event, and so on. And there's going to be lawfare, opposition targeting coming with all of this. But let's stay strong and let's stay focused. All right, so we're going to be bracing for inevitable violent retribution, including from Trump's White House, desperate to distract from his longtime friendship with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and Trump's own crimes in Epstein's elite pedophile network, otherwise known as the real-life QAnon. There's been an escalating political violence crisis in America driven by the far right. In the decade of Obama in the White House, the FBI released several reports and warnings that white domestic terrorism was the greatest threat to America, greater than ISIS. Trump rose to power on that wave of violence, fanning those flames with his birtherism conspiracy theory, which Michelle Obama said put a target on her family. All the research, which I'll link to in the show notes, confirms what we can already see with our own eyes and ears, and that is the political violence crisis in America is driven by the far right, specifically Donald Trump. Remember, he himself said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his cult would still vote for him. There was also a report showing how violence increased in the districts Trump held a rally in during the 2016 election. In all my years of phone banking to get out the vote in our elections, I've spoken with Trump supporters who emphatically said they'd kill for Trump. So did someone kill Charlie Kirk for Trump to send a message to everyone, including his own base, including his own FBI deputy director, Dan Bongino, who made a career promising Trump would reveal Epstein's pedophile network? Bongino was just humiliated by Trump, bringing in Andrew Bailey, the former Attorney General of Missouri and a Trump loyalist, by, for the first time in history, establishing a second deputy director to work alongside Dan Bongino at the FBI. Let me say that again. For the first time in history, the FBI now has two deputy directors, QAnon podcaster Dan Bongino and recently resigned Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. It's clear that's a message to Bongino to fall in line. What message should we read from Charlie Kirk's shocking assassination? Well, he is, of course, a MAGA Nazi in the style of Rush Limbaugh before him. Charlie Kirk enjoyed fortune, fame, political power by putting a target on the backs of the most vulnerable groups in America. Kirk spent his career scapegoating Black people, trans people, calling on women like self-made billionaire and cultural icon Taylor Swift to submit to her soon-to-be husband, and cheering on Trump's authoritarian destruction of our democracy, including sending so-called red state troops into Democratic-led states and cities. As I've mentioned on Gaslit Nation and our Monday Salon, a mainstream pollster noted that young men across the political spectrum often point to Charlie Kirk as someone they respect, even if they don't always agree with his politics, because he's willing to face people on university campuses. Young white American men have shifted far right thanks in large part to Charlie Kirk. Democrats like Gavin Newsom have been desperate to crack this formula. Newsom even launched his own podcast, platforming Kirk, a Nazi, and getting backlash from his own base, who rightly pointed out that Kirk is a hate merchant who fuels America's political violence crisis. This includes Kirk calling for someone to bail out the MAGA extremist who broke into Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home and tried to bludgeon her husband to death, sending him to the hospital. As many have pointed out, Charlie Kirk did what his precious Bible warned him not to do. He lived by the sword, and so he inevitably died by the sword. Or did he? Was his death part of a larger cover-up? I know there's a lot going on in the world right now. Russia just attacked Poland, a NATO member with a swarm of drones. Israel just attacked Qatar, where we have one of our largest U.S. bases. Two Trump allies, Putin and Netanyahu, continue to carry out genocides, killing women and children. Meanwhile, with Congress back in session, momentum was building around pedophile Trump's longtime wingman, pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Democrats released a horrifying birthday card Trump gave Epstein, appearing to show the body of a young girl, not a fully developed woman, with Trump's signature placed between the legs. The same birthday book also included a picture of a Mar-a-Lago member giving Epstein a check from Trump for what was described as a depreciated woman. And of course, Trump's longtime attack dog, disgraced lawyer Alan Dershowitz, bragged about how he got Vanity Fair to change a sex scandal article to focus on Bill Clinton instead, shifting heat away from Epstein. A delegation of congressional Democrats recently traveled to New York to meet with the Epstein estate to uncover more horrifying details about Epstein's real-life QAnon network of elite pedophiles, which included convicted felon Trump. So what happened next? In the deeply conservative state of Utah, a state shifting so far to the extreme right that the Sundance Film Festival had to relocate to Colorado in protest, Charlie Kirk was successfully silenced with a single shot to the neck from a great distance. The crowd before him was a sea of white faces. So if a trans person, a Black person, or anyone else scapegoated by MAGA's predominantly white male base had pulled the trigger, they'd likely have been caught by now. The fact that the killer, as of this recording, is still out there strongly suggests they got away because the killer was able to blend in. That won't stop Trump's personal security forces, now referred to as Kash Patel's FBI, from trying to pin this on someone who didn't do it. They already announced they had a so-called subject, that's the wrong word, subject, and then announced that person had been released. Why might okay, first of all, it's not a subject, it's a suspect. A suspect. I mean, unless they're coming from this as you are all our subjects now and we are the king. Anyway, so why might a white man with the skills of a professional sniper want Charlie Kirk dead? Was it because Kirk wouldn't let go of Jeffrey Epstein? Like many in the MAGA base, he fixated on Epstein for years, using it to help Trump come to power against the Democrats. Remember, in 2016, Steve Bannon, then Trump's campaign manager, saw Epstein as Trump's biggest liability and desperately feared the full extent of their friendship being exposed. What did MAGA do in response? They flipped the script. The far right, most notably Trump's early endorser Michael Flynn, pushed Pizzagate, a conspiracy that led one of their supporters to shoot up a popular DC pizza place, believing children were locked in the basement by Clinton's cabal. When that narrative started to crumble, they pivoted to QAnon, growing an entire conspiracy theory-based movement that eventually brought Marjorie Taylor Greene and others to power. Let's be clear, MAGA took Trump's greatest liability, his deep ties to Epstein's elite pedophile ring, and turned it into their most powerful political weapon. It's classic Russian propaganda playbook. Accuse others of what you yourself are guilty of. The Nazis, of course, did that too. As the Kremlin saying goes, we're invading Ukraine because NATO dared to defend itself by existing. This is straight up authoritarian gaslighting. Now that MAGA is the establishment, they find themselves in an awkward position. Their own leader, Trump, refuses to release the full Epstein files, despite promising to do so. Why? Because Trump is in those files. He was a longtime friend of Epstein, participating in his highly illegal and evil pedophile network. This is the inconvenient truth at the heart of Charlie Kirk's assassination, no matter who pulled the trigger. A political assassination this bold was a clear warning. The left would never do this. The data shows that political violence in America overwhelmingly comes from the far right. Charlie Kirk, notably, was calling for greater transparency on Epstein in July. In recent days, yes, he tried to pull back in line and back down. Did someone feel betrayed, or was this a warning to anyone still demanding the truth about Epstein? Like the bipartisan effort in the House to force a vote to demand the Justice Department release the Epstein files. And Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon just called for an investigation into Epstein and Peter Thiel. The bipartisan movement for transparency has been growing, with Congress back in session. Was Charlie Kirk grumbling in private about Trump's cover-up of Epstein? Here's what we do know. Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe described Trump as a mob boss. As I've long said in Gaslit Nation, think of the illegal election of Trump in 2016, where MAGA came to power with the Kremlin's highly illegal help, as a marriage between the Russian mafia in the East and the American mafia in the West. Read Timothy Snyder's The Road to Unfreedom for the decades-long connections between Trump and Russia. Convicted felon Trump is a mob boss. To illegally stay in power, Trump incited violence on January 6, 2021, which led to several deaths. What do mob bosses do? They order hits. They fake assassination attempts to consolidate power, like Trump did back in July 2024. Remember that staged moment? We've heard almost nothing about the so-called assassin, his life, his motive, nothing. Yet Trump walks around glorifying the event with a bloody ear, fist raised, now immortalized in a painting in the White House, but yet Trump himself has no visible scars. That moment on July 13, 2024 in Butler turned his polling around, and he's milked it ever since. No one in their right mind would stand up immediately, fist in the air, like Trump did after almost being shot in the face. The Secret Service would never allow that. But in this instance, they did. Is it because, as Washington Post reporter Carol Lessig details in her book, Zero Fail, The Rise and Fall of the Secret Service, they're firmly in the MAGA cult? What I'm saying is this: don't normalize any of this. None of it is normal. Josh Shapiro lowering the flags in Pennsylvania for Charlie Kirk after a MAGA extremist tried to blow up his house and kill his entire family. You're not going to win at the Nazis game by sympathizing with Nazis. People have to take a stand. People have to take a clear side. Neutrality, ignoring the facts, ignoring the research, the data, showing that we know who's causing this political crisis in America, violence. It is not us. It is them. It is the Nazis. It is the Nazis. And acting otherwise only helps them and contributes to this zombie fog that so many are finding their way or are finding themselves in. This consolidation, this purging of power at the very top in the White House, this purging and consolidation of power across our media. CBS just brought in a Fox News MAGA Trumper to basically be like the Kremlin state TV of CBS and censor all of CBS after we just lost Stephen Colbert from CBS. Like, we are in a boiling pot of water, America. MAGA is trying to turn us into a fascist mafia state like Russia, and too many people are being bullied and pre-surrendering and going along with it. So what we need to do is stick to the truth. Facts are facts. The political violence crisis is coming from the far right. It has been building for decades now. Charlie Kirk was a hate monger, Nazi fascist, by another name, America First. The original America First movement aided the Nazis, was firmly on the side of the Nazis. It was a very dangerous moment then, and it's a very dangerous moment today. People have to take a side. People cannot be lulled into neutrality, which always historically helps the side of the oppressor. Okay, so stand firm and fight back. So convicted felon Trump now is going to go, he's already going to extreme lengths to consolidate power, distract us, destabilize us, and cover up his 15 years of friendship with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Expect Trump, who turned the FBI and DOJ into personal security forces, to turn Charlie Kirk, well, he's already doing it, but they're turning Charlie Kirk into another Ashley Babbitt martyr, and to use his death as a weapon to go after his political opposition, especially those still rightfully demanding answers about Epstein. So what do? Refuse to back down, demand transparency for Epstein's victims, and expose anyone rebuilding his elite pedophile network today. Those high-paying customers are still out there. We're seeing a surge of private members-only elite clubs in New York City. The culture that protected Epstein is still alive. Charlie Kirk's shocking assassination, call it what it is, an act of political violence from the far right. Research backs this up. That crowd in Utah backs this up. This is the cause of America's political violence crisis today. No matter what these criminals in the White House do, the U.S. Constitution still matters. Our rights matter. Your voice matters. You matter. The most dangerous moment for Trump and his allies is now, when their own base realizes there's a blatant Epstein cover-up and is being led by their own dear leader. So let's honor the murdered Nazi, Charlie Kirk, in the way he would have wanted by demanding transparency from this White House in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Here is Charlie Kirk, in his own words, from his podcast back in July. Blast this at the White House at the next No Kings March on October 18. I'll see you there.
Here's what I think needs to happen immediately. The DOJ needs to move to unseal the grand jury testimony. I think that we need to see a press conference from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, and also Dan Bongino. And finally, we need to try to get to the bottom of something with the Ghislaine Maxwell Alexander Acosta, figure out that whole intel question and get to the bottom of that.